This week is looking a lot like last March when a bunch of regional banks took a nosedive. And while this week was not nearly as bad, we've had no failures, at least not yet. It's been very bad for investors, and the main culprit appears to be commercial real estate. If you haven't been paying attention, here's what's happened in just the last 48 hours. Shares of New York Community Bank, which despite the name is actually a very big bank in the New York area, collapsing after it slashed its dividend and spooked the market. It's all about worries around commercial real estate and things like apartment and condo buildings having their debts go bad as prices in many big cities go down. NYCB has lost half its value in just 2 days. And that has been taking other banks down too, and not just regionals, by the way. Wells Fargo, for example, it fell 2% today. And the big regional bank ETF, the KRE, seeing its lowest 2-day performance since last year's Silicon Valley Bank crisis.
Well, I think one thing everybody can agree on was that yesterday was a shock, that we did have that plunge for NYCB, New York Community Bancorp, and that the reason behind it, as you mentioned, those swollen loan loss preserves 12 times the estimate. But beneath that, they also, in addition, cut their dividend. And the reason that they cut the dividend, because we don't know the composition for those loan loss provisions, but the driver of cutting the dividend had to do, the bank said, with office and multifamily commercial real estate. So this seemed like it was last year. I think that there are other experts, people in real estate, Manus, who might disagree with the CEO of Citizens, saying that there could be some kind of quote-unquote debt crisis ahead. That's according to one of my sources. Given the fact that you have 1.5 trillion CMBS due by the end of 2025, all of those factors that he mentioned, it really creates a backdrop for values to potentially fall. 80% of CMBS is held by the regional bank, so it is somewhat spread out. But we could have other situations, as occurred yesterday with NYCB. I think it's too early to say whether or not it's over, because a lot of these properties, they simply haven't traded. So we don't know how bad the distress is going to be. We don't know how bad the values are going to be. But some of the big office owners that I've talked to, mall owners that I've talked to recently in Bloomberg interviews, Manus, they've said that in New York here, values could drop as much as 25 to 75%. So basically, a loan would be worth 25 cents on the dollar from previous values. That could still be kind of painful, so stay tuned.
Okay, whether it is idiosyncratic or not, multitudes of idiosyncrasies can cause a big problem.
Okay, prices paid. This is not good, and this is what the markets are going to pay attention to. Prices paid for January expected to be 46.9, and that would have been, 9 in a row below 50. Some good celebration there, but it popped all the way up to 52.9. 52.9. That's the highest prices paid since April of last year. That's a couple of seconds. The first jobs report, jobs of 24 is out, and it is whopper 353,000. 353,000. We have to go in the Wayback Machine. That is the biggest non-farm payroll gains since January of 23, when it was 472,000. If we look at the average hourly earnings, a huge jump, up 0.6%, up 0.6%. It equals March of 22. To find a higher number, you have to go to January of 22. And also, for some context there, the amount of year over year is also popping 4.5%. We were expecting 4.1. The year over year average hourly earnings began as a data set in 2007, pre-COVID. All the way to when it started, the high was 3.6. It's 4.5.
Look, this means March is off the table. March should have been off the table for a while, as you and I have discussed, but this means March is off the table. It also means that you are more likely to get the 3 cuts that the Fed has signaled, 3 to 4, rather than the higher number that the markets has been romancing.
Do you think that May is potentially off the table too, Mohammed, given the fact that we're seeing wage pressures that are going in the wrong direction for the Fed?
You know, I was with you last week and I said June is what I think should happen and what I think is likely to happen. And that this report just feeds into that.
Mohammed, so what do you think it means in terms of the U.S. election? Can they cut closer to the election now, given March is off the table?
Jay Powell, the Fed chairman, is talking about a soft landing. Do you believe we will see a soft landing?
Well, I think he's going to do something to probably help the Democrats. You know, I think if he lowers interest rates, but you have the potential of having massive inflation again, because the Middle East could drive up the price of energy. You know, energy has so much to do with it. And the Middle East, again, the bombs are dropping all over the place, and the ships are starting to get hit, and hit hard. If that happens, you're going to have tremendous spikes in the price of oil. And if you do that, you're going to have big inflation. He's not going to be able to do anything.
Explosions in Iraq and Syria overnight. Today, the US assessing the aftermath of Friday night's operation, involving, it said, 85 strikes and 125 precision munitions, while local reports say around 40 were killed. Targets on the Syrian-Iraqi border, strongholds of Iranian-backed militia accused of carrying out the deadly attack on a US base in Jordan.
But it looks to me like he's trying to lower interest rates for the sake of maybe getting people elected. I don't know.
So you think he's political? He's just going to cut rates to help Biden, you say?
I do. I think he's political.
Based on the meeting today, I would tell you that I don't think it's likely that the committee will reach a level of confidence by the time of the March meeting to identify March as the time to do that. But that's to be seen. So I wouldn't call, you know, when you ask me about in the near term, I'm hearing that as March. I would say I don't think it's probably not the most likely case or what we would call the base case.